Hi, I'm Randy Patterson, and this is Psychology Salon, a channel about psychological issues. If you like this kind of thing, click subscribe. One of the things I do a lot of is help young adults seize their adulthood and make it their own. This has popularly become known as adulting. To those who haven't done it yet, it sounds like lopping off all of your uniqueness and turning you into a convenient little cog for the furthering of the economy. We need to get you into the workforce, happy in your cubicle, proudly serving your corporate masters, married off, having kids, paying your mortgage, retiring, and watching Wheel of Fortune into the grave. That's not what it's about. It's more about taking your uniqueness, your dreams, what makes you happy, and then meshing that with what's actually out there and available in the real world and finding a path forward that probably wouldn't suit anyone else, but is a good and fulfilling life for you. The difference is that some people see it as a narrowing down process of becoming like everyone else, and I see it as a process of fanning out, differentiating from other people, and becoming more truly yourself. Quentin Crisp used to say that the one thing people have that's especially theirs is their uniqueness, and it's the one thing they most want to give up. He and I suggest doing the opposite. But there's some truth to at least some of it. There are common tasks that, frankly, aren't much about your uniqueness. Even if you're a dedicated naturist, you're probably going to wear clothes at least some of the time. And that means you're going to have to do laundry. And it doesn't make sense to have a different machine for everyone's unique style. So it's more a matter of figuring out how to use the same machines everyone else uses. Then there's eating. You have specific likes and dislikes, and maybe some cultural specialties that you've come to enjoy. So your diet is a little different from anyone else's. But at some level, you need to be able to prepare food. It's either that or be completely dependent on other people to keep you from starving. Or maybe being one of those 1950s men who sit fork in hand at the dining table saying, honey, I'm hungry and I don't know what to do. Even the most coddled men cannot afford to be that helpless. But we summarize that by saying that you need to learn how to cook. And even if you don't have a TV, you've seen cooking stuff. You've watched The Menu, or Julie and Julia, or The 100-Foot Journey, or you've been to those restaurants where you can see the chefs preparing your food. You've got to learn to be like them. You need to learn to cook, and it seems overwhelming. The young adults I see routinely feel overwhelmed. I can't, it's too much. I will never learn all that stuff. I can take one step on that road, but the road is 10,000 miles long. There is no hope of getting to the end, so why even try? If you're a therapist, you hope that your clients will say certain things, and sometimes you kind of set them up, so they'll say them almost by accident, because then you can respond. One of the things that I hope my clients will say is, I will never learn all that stuff, because that lets me say, you're right, you won't. Don't even try. What? Listen, don't try to learn to cook. We inherited my mother-in-law's joy of cooking, and this was an old edition. It tells you how to skin squirrels. I'm serious. And you know what? I haven't read that, and I don't plan to. I do not need to know this. I do not care. But there are things I really like that it might be nice to know, like how to make Vikram Vij's curry. And in fact, I do know how to make that. You buy a bag of it, you put it in a pot, you stir. Done. The point of all this is that your feeling of being overwhelmed at learning to cook is not silly. It's not a distortion. It's not a failure of confidence. It is true and valid. If learning how to cook means cooking all that stuff, you can't do it. You never will. Give up now. The gap between where you are and where you think you should be is just too wide. Forget it. The secret of cooking is that you don't need to learn how to cook. You certainly don't need it to be an adult. Thinking about it is just a way to feel discouraged. But what if cooking meant being able to cook one thing? Ideally, one simple thing. Now, does it seem overwhelming? Depends what it is. Fugu sushi, souffle, still overwhelming. Roasting a chicken, maybe a little less. Pasta with a little extra added to the store-bought sauce, even less. When I was in graduate school, a bunch of us used to work late most nights, and we'd get together late in the afternoon and walk over to the university hospital cafeteria, largely because it was dirt cheap. And every day for 2 weeks, they served different things. Good enough. We didn't get bored, and we didn't have to eat nasi goreng every single day. Now, you're not a hospital. You don't need choices every day. And do you really need something different every night for 2 weeks? No. By the time a week has passed, you're probably fine eating the same thing again. And chances are you'll make extra. So some days you can have leftovers, and maybe you'll have a partner or a roommate who also cooks some of the time, and sometimes you might eat out. Maybe you only need to know how to make 4 things. You do not need to know how to cook. Nasi goreng, roast chicken, veggie burgers, spaghetti. You're done. Good enough. You can add to your repertoire later, but you can survive with just those. Oh yeah, but what if you have people over? What if someone throws a potluck and you're supposed to bring something? Listen, somebody you know loves karaoke for some reason. Ask them, do you sing something completely different every time? Of course they don't. They have their thing, they do their thing, then they go back to the beer. They don't need anything else. If you have one thing you can sing, good enough. A group of my friends gets together a few times every year, and one friend, we know what he's making. We even know the blue pot he's making it in. Beef rendang curry. And every single time he says, are you sure you don't want something else? And every time we say, no, bring the curry. That's what he does, and we're happy. We only get it a couple of times a year. And even if it wasn't any good, that'd be fine. But he's been making it forever, and he knows what he's doing. You need one thing you can take to a dinner. One thing, not a different thing every time. We've been doing joint Thanksgiving dinners, and all that traditional stuff, I didn't know how to make. So I started easy. I like cranberry sauce, so I made that. Easiest thing on the planet, and it tasted better than anything you can buy. Now, I can do most of that stuff. But if I'd started out thinking, I need to know how to make everything for Thanksgiving dinner for 12, I'd have given up before I started. The idea that you need to learn to cook is one of those things that looks like a path to adulthood, but is actually a barrier. So listen, to be an adult, you don't need to know how to cook. Forget about that. Give it up. Just learn to make one thing, then one more, then one more. Bake a potato, make a salad, roast vegetables, spice up pasta sauce. Do that instead. You see, it's not a road, and you're not getting started on it. Every one of those things is a destination. Take a step, and you're there already. And having done that, a different step will be easier than that first one. There are other videos on this channel on the psychology of everyday life. Click the subscribe button for more. I also have an online course site, psychologysalon.teachable.com, with programs for professionals and for the general public. And my book, How to Be Miserable, 40 Strategies You Already Use, is available from online booksellers. Thanks for watching.